in case you're curious. So now's the time to start saying really incriminating things.
That's so funny. Actually, now that you're going live, and since it's like 8
Just
o'clock,
out of
I'm gonna
mouth,
let you
go
take
ahead.
over since this is your show. So, I'll
Oh,
mute
well,
myself.
Thank you very much. All right. Well, let me get a couple things set up here, and then I'll start yakking. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. Oh, that's really obnoxious. I didn't mute my own stream. Perfect. All right. Let's do this, shall we? I think I took care of everything that I need to do. Beautiful. Okie doke. Well, hey everybody. I see a couple familiar names in the crowd here. So, for those of you who don't know me, I am Milkman Al, aka Alex. Oh, you know what? There's a couple people kind of lingering in. Or slowly trickling in. I'll wait for maybe a minute or two. But yeah, I'm an anesthesiologist in the Kansas City area, and my inbox was filling up with kind of common questions, so I figured it was probably about time to reach out and do another one of these AMA sessions. Who is asking for a friend request? Ah, it's easy, bro. What's up? Alright. I'll give it like another minute or two and then we'll get going. Hopefully you guys have had a good week so far. Just make sure all the people who are interested can show up and get all the valuable info, of course. By the way, if the sound is messed up, let me know. Sometimes my kid comes in and plays with my microphone. It looked like everything was fine, but I'll check that real quick before we really get into it. Ah, interesting. Looks like that had in fact happened. Does this sound better? Hopefully this sounds better. All right, I'm gonna get into the groove here. AMA questions. Let's rock and roll. All right. So yeah, like I said, my name's Alex. I am an anesthesiologist. I've been in private practice for 6 years? Just over 6 years now. I'm in the Kansas City area. As I mentioned, my inbox has kind of been filling up with some of the sort of same repeated questions. So here I am to answer everything all at once and in one giant leap. So I am streaming live on Twitch and on YouTube right now. So if there is something that like requires a chart or whatever, I will link that in Discord. But you can also see it live as I talk about it on Twitch if you prefer. Speaking of which, I've done several of these talks with the MCAT server in over the past year or so, and they are all available on my YouTube channel, which is something that you can find in my profile. It's youtube.com/milkmanal. Twitch is youtube.com, or sorry, Twitch is twitch.tv/milkmanal1. But anyway, I'm generally live Wednesdays and Sundays at 8 Central, so if you want to come out and you have more questions and I don't get to you for whatever reason, you are more than welcome to either join me then or DM me, whatever you like. So yeah, and don't forget where I was going earlier with the YouTube thing is, if you have a question, there's a pretty good chance I have answered it in the past as well. Hey, Bing Bong, what's going on, dude? And so yeah, if you hear me do something like that, it's probably because I'm responding to Twitch or YouTube chats. Yeah. Anyway, let's roll. I see a couple questions coming on, so yeah. Again, if you don't get your question answered, I'm sorry. Contact me or watch YouTube. I've probably done a video on it. Anyway, GPA question, of course. How does one bad undergrad semester affect admissions? So, totally depends, right? Totally depends how bad. Depends on what your overall GPA is, and it depends on why exactly you had that bad semester. So, obviously it's better to not have to explain something away, you know, and just go in with a clean slate. Like, if you have a bad semester and it brings you down to like a 3.6 overall or something, then that's, I wouldn't bother with, don't worry about it. You take this as a drag show stream? This is not a drag show stream. But yeah, so, if you have like a death in the family, or, you get injured, or you're massively sick or something like that, then, perhaps that like bears some explanation. And unfortunately, like, if you do have a bad semester and it lowers you like below cutoffs, then you'll never even get a chance to, talk about your problems. And, that's not fair and it sucks, but that's just sort of how it is. There's some computer that just, like, throws you in the dumpster and that's it. But yeah, again, it depends. How much do publications help in admissions? So, does doing research in different area matter that much? Oh, no. I think as long as you've done some sort of research, that's really like what they're looking for in in the like publication count thing. As I understand it, like publications are becoming more and more of a sort of de facto requirement for med school admissions, which is just really unfortunate in my opinion. I mean, for many reasons, not the least of which is that you can't really expect an undergrad student to have done meaningful research, on the level that it would actually like be informative to your medical career. Yeah, there are some people who are like, have gotten PhDs or have gotten master's degrees or something, and that's a different story. Or have done graduate level work, but they are the exception to the rule. So, as long as you've kind of got something on your resume to say like, hey, I've done this, I think it's fine. Me personally, as an interviewer, when I was interviewing med students, I didn't care. For the reasons that I mentioned. Like, I realized that none of those things were probably meaningful experiences. So, it's a wash. How's a failing semester 13 years ago look to adcoms? If you've like gone back to school and, have an exemplary record since then, I think that's probably fine. I'm honestly not sure how they factor like your old GPA in with your new one. I think something that long ago was probably gonna be more or less disregarded, but that's probably institution dependent. But yeah, as long as your recent work is like very strong and you have a good reason for it, like you just like got your shit together, even like something as simple as that, then I think, but can like spin it into a decent story, I think that's pretty reasonable, and you shouldn't worry about it too much. With no defined residency due to moving around, how's that looked at with regards to the in-state statistics? So are you asking whether or not you can get residency? Because that depends on state. Like, that's totally state by state, whether or not you can qualify for residency. So, like, as long as you meet their criteria, then you're fine. Do I have any experience with intraoperative neuromonitoring? Quite a lot, actually. So my question would be, why are you considering an intermediate program between med school and college at all? I find that one thing that people really underestimate is the importance of opportunity cost in medicine. Like, you'll see people in forums like Student Doctor Network and Reddit and stuff all the time say, oh yeah, just take a gap year and like get everything together and, blah, blah, blah. Like, live your life and etc. Well, it's not quite that simple, because that year is worth like $300,000 to $500,000 to you. Like, is it worth $500,000 to, go and travel or like work and be out of school for a year and kind of like get your mind right? I mean, maybe it is, but that's a tough sell in my opinion. And I mean, neuromonitoring's fine. That's a good career in itself, but like, I guess I don't understand what the point of that would be. So yes, it would be very good relevant experience. But if you're taking time off to do only that, I would strongly recommend you do not do that. Does AMSA help strengthen your application? I don't know what that is, so I'm going to Google it. American Medical Student Association? Oh, no. Absolutely not. Nope. Nobody cares. Sorry.
When I'm ready, and not before.
Let's see. Would working as an RA or research coordinator count as research? Depends. Yeah, if you don't get any publications, I mean, I think, you know, again, we're talking more about, like, you know, something to, like, rubber stamp on your resume, rather than something that's actually supposed to be a meaningful experience. So I think as long as you can, you know, actually just quote that's, you know, something that you did, you're fine. Obviously, you have to be able to talk about it intelligently. So all of these things that I say, like, as long as you can put it down, you're fine. That's with the caveat that you have to be able to, like, have a mature and intelligent conversation about it as well. Who should you ask for rec letters? Anybody who can write a good one for you, honestly. Do research PIs who are MDs also good? Yeah, that's great. And prestige definitely does matter. Yeah, I mean, if you can get somebody with a big name to write you a letter, yeah, that's going to be helpful, obviously. Why does everybody think today was the drag stream? You guys are jerks. I think I'm kind of obligated to do that now at this point, though, right? How much for a glowing rec letter that says you're one of the best they've interacted with? Help in admissions? I mean, that'll help a lot. That probably will set you apart. So as with a lot of things that are subjective, rec letters really only matter if they're in, like, the bottom 10% or top 10%. And it sounds like that might be a top 10%er. So that might make a difference for you. When is the Casper deadline for Canadian med schools? I have no idea. Casper, fortunately, was not a thing when I went through med school, and I prefer to know as little about it as possible so I don't, like, rage quit this whole medical education thing. It sounds like the worst piece of crap ever. For MD, at what GPA should you consider a postbac? Oh, man. So I personally am pretty down on postbacs in general. I think that they're extremely high risk and low reward. You have to do Casper for anesthesia residency? Oh, God, I'm so sorry. That sucks. But yeah, postbacs are... That's a huge risk, man. I think, like, if you're gonna do it, I would recommend, like, having a... Man, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a scenario where that would be decent. Like, I think if you have a good MCAT score, and by good, I mean probably, like, 80th percentile or higher, and, like, a mediocre GPA, like a 3.3 or 3.4 or something, then that might help you, because you can, like, just prove that you can knock a tough science curriculum out of the park. But, man, it's, like, those programs are super expensive, and most of them don't have, like, any actual guarantee that you'll get into med school, or some of them don't even make you more likely to get into med school, honestly. So yeah, I don't know, man. Postbac kind of goes back to that opportunity cost issue that I mentioned earlier. Like, you know, you're sacrificing a potential year of income plus, you know, $30,000 to $50,000 of tuition to maybe be more qualified. I mean, that's tough. Why did I choose anesthesiology? Combo of independence, lifestyle, income, subject matter, work pace. It's it fits me really well. Like the fact that you have a lot of time off and it's like it rewards efficiency is really, really helpful. I love it. You were bamboozled with my lack of drag stream. Oh my god, you guys in your drag stream. Any tips for what I want to see in a strong letter of recommendation? Yeah, so the strongest rec letters are personal, right? So they provide specific examples. They say, you know, this person does X, Y, and Z really well. You know, you want to see things about like dedication, work ethic, drive, teamwork, you know, things like that, or in like evidence that they can achieve at a high level, you know, in a team environment, under stress, you know, how they compare with other people that you've seen, you know, doing the same thing. Those sorts of things are clutch. Oh, I will 100% do a drag stream for $500. Yeah, that's totally worth it. What in an interview makes someone accepted instead of waitlisted besides stats? So the main thing that, like, kind of the goal of everything that I ask people during an interview is to see whether I would want to work with you or not. So if I think that I could work with you, like, I'm like, oh yeah, that guy's cool. I think he would have my back. You know, he would step in for me if I was sick. He'd help me out with, you know, a dying patient. He's a good guy. Like, then that's gonna go a long way for you. Because honestly, I don't really care that much if you have like a 2.5 and a 23 or whatever. What's average on the MCAT now? 500 on the MCAT. Like, if you're clinically good and you're going to be a good teammate and good coworker, then I would much rather have that than somebody that crushed their stats. And the way I always approached interviewing, and oh yeah, so I didn't mention this officially, but like I've done a lot of med school interviews, and now I'm in a small private group, so I interview everybody who applies to be an anesthetist or a doc, and which is honestly not all that many people, but for med students I've probably interviewed, I mean, dozens at least. I don't know if it's 100 plus, but a lot. And in all of those interviews, I just basically assume that if you're there, you've cleared some sort of like statistical hurdle. Like your numbers are good enough that, you know, somebody else has run like some algorithm that says, hey, you are statistically likely to make it through medical education. So like, in my opinion, you've cleared that hurdle. And you're basically just starting from scratch. Low GPA non-trad. Let's see. If you do well in other prereqs, will that be enough, or would you have to do a master's? Well, I mean, it sort of depends on what your GPA is. You know, I would definitely look hard at all of the statistics and stuff, and figure out like where you fall on the bell curve after, you know, after you've gotten all your sciences done. So, what do I think about application companies like BMO? I don't know what that is. Let's look it up. BMO application review. Oh, so it's like an application review thing. Man, I think that at this level, that's not really worth your money, honestly. There are so many resources available that, you know, you can have people review your application for free. And it's probably by people who are going to do a more thorough job than them anyway. Like, I mean, for example, you can come on my stream and ask me to review your application and I'll tear it apart. And that's free, you know? And it's immediate. You get immediate feedback. Same with like Student Doctor Network, same with this Discord. I don't think that that's worth your time. Hey, Andrews, what's up, man? Thank you for following. Welcome. Welcome. My biggest piece of advice regarding applications. Well, that's a pretty general question. I mean, start early, stay ahead of it. Make sure you check all the boxes that you can. You know, get strong rec letters, get your personal statement, drafts written, have everybody review your stuff. I mean, that's about all you can do, like, on a level that general. just, get out ahead of it, which presumably you already are, right? There's lots of places that you can find all of the school's secondary essays, so you can start writing those too. So if you pre-write all that stuff, you'll take a lot of weight off your shoulders. You save yourself a bunch of time and stress. What I think the strongest thing to do is to strengthen an application, not including GPA or MCAT. That's a good question. I think that the best thing that you can do is get a clinically relevant job. Not volunteer, get a job. Because people will depend on you to do your job. And they will give you training, and you will actually be like part of a team, and you'll have some experiences to relate when it comes to interview time or personal statement time even, about what you've done. So if you're a volunteer, nobody gives a shit what you do. Like, anything that you do is bonus because you're free. If you just like go and stack blankets for 4 hours, they're like, sweet, somebody stacked blankets for 4 hours and we don't have to pay, a custodian to do that. Like, nobody cares. Nobody cares what you do. But if they're paying you and somebody depends on you to do a job, and so you'll at least get some sort of like insight into what it's actually like to like deal with patients, deal with people. Oddly enough, in that vein, I think being a server is really helpful, or like being a cashier or something like that. Those are really helpful jobs to have, because you're basically dealing with disappointed, angry people all the time, and that's going to be your career in medicine, like it or not. You're going to deal with people at their worst constantly. So if you get used to that, that'll be very helpful. What GPA and MCAT did I get? I can't remember my GPA. I think it was like a 3.1. My MCAT was a 35, which was like... I have to look this up every time. I think it's like a 519 or something. It was like 95th percentile at the time. What role do secondary essays have after the interview? Little to none. To be honest. I think you're pretty lucky if somebody actually even reads your personal statement and like gets anything out of it. Let's see, what about NIH postbacks? I honestly don't know anything about them. They'll boost your research CV in the form of presentations or subs or pubs. Oh yeah, I mean, cool. Yeah, I don't know anything about them, to be honest. But that does sound more helpful, honestly. Unfortunately, though, most people who are doing postbacks are weak on the GPA side. So if you don't have the ability to, like, boost that, then you might be spinning your wheels. High MCAT score can trump a low GPA. Well, I don't know about trump it, but it can certainly help. Do I think prep companies for the interview application process is worth it? No, I don't. I think that you'll have plenty of resources available to you for mock. Let me qualify this here. So I do think that application and interview prep are very valuable things to do. However, I don't think that you should pay anyone for them, because again, there are free services available for you that are probably better than most that you'd pay for. And we're not talking about getting a like 7-figure job here, where presumably you're already like rolling in the money, and it doesn't matter if you pay somebody $1,000 to review your resume, because like the risk reward there is very much in your favor. But for this, like, you have Reddit, you've got Student Doctor Network, you have Discord, you have all sorts of different places where you can get people to review your stuff for minimal cost, if any. So I wouldn't use them. Do I think a professor can be a non-academic referee? What is a non-academic referee? I don't know what that means. What do you look for in the why this school question? So just any cogent answer, honestly, whether it's location, for family, friends, part of the country, whether it's something that the school focuses on, Uh, if there's like a certain specialty that school is well known for, you can say that. I mean, anything that like makes sense is all I ever looked for. I was very conversational in my interviews. I wasn't there to like bust people's balls. One second. All right, there we go. Back we go. Let's see. Sorry, I lost my place. Should start your own BMO, call it Freemo. I mean, that's pretty much what this is, right? That's pretty much what it is. But dude, I'm down. And just charge ad revenue? Yeah, why not? I like it. What do I think you should do if you're lacking volunteering or clinical hours? I think you should just go volunteer, because at least that's something that you can slap down on your application. It will be 100% useless to you in terms of like actually informing your decision to practice medicine, as most volunteering is. But at least you can check that box. Good writing resources for applications. I mean, I've listed them, right? Reddit, Student Doctor Network, this Discord. So there are several, like, pre-med and med student Discords that have people who are willing to review your writing samples. So, yeah. 900 hours of scribing, dear God. Okay, I think that's enough. When's the latest day to submit secondaries that's still early in the app cycle? I mean, that's just sort of dependent, right? Dependent on, like, how the school functions. There's a lot of places that, like, won't even release, or at least there were when I was applying. There were a lot of places that had, like, a set date where they released all their secondaries. So, I mean, just turn them around as fast as you can. That's the best you can do. And like I said, there are a lot of places that compile old secondary prompts. So for all the schools that you're applying to that give automatic secondaries, just write their essays in advance so you can just turn it around immediately. That's the best advice I can possibly give you. And that carries over to like everything else that you'll do. Like when you're getting credentialed for hospitals, have all your stuff ready. All of your like licensing info and transcripts and whatever else that they may need. Have it available, like, because you're gonna need it, so you might as well just do it ahead of time. Do I know any good resources for virtual shadowing or virtual volunteering? What? Virtual shadowing? What? Why would you bother doing that? No, I don't. Don't do that. Go into a doctor's office. Get your hands on. Yeah, virtual volunteering is that sounds like a med student meme if I've ever heard one. Let's see, as a post-bac student, it took a few gap years to substantially improve your application. You're thinking you're hitting a wall on your essays, okay? Is taking the next couple months to write a solid narrative in your personal statement and secondary essays worth applying later in the cycle? No, absolutely not. So there's sort of this, so you see this everywhere, right? So you can buy like a really, really nice car for like $75,000, right? But to get noticeable performance improvement, you've got to spend like twice that, or maybe even more. So similarly, you can write a pretty darn good essay with, a minimal amount of effort, but you can write a maybe really good one with like 8 times that effort. And as I mentioned earlier, chances are that nobody's really gonna put all that much stock in your essays anyway. Like, so as long as they make sense and, they're like grammatically correct and, flow pretty well, which you can have people, evaluate them for, then that's great. You don't want to put yourself behind the 8 ball. As I understand it, something like 35 to 40% of interview invites have already been offered. I don't know how accurate that is, and I don't have any data to back that up, but that's what the Reddit buzz is. So yeah, I wouldn't delay any more than you already have. I mean, if you think you're gonna be like a marginal candidate this year, it sort of depends on what your financial situation is. So if you can afford, like a couple $1,000s, like $2,000 to apply this year, you might as well, in my opinion. Might as well. Because you definitely won't get in if you don't apply. Is Taco Bell good work experience? I mean, honestly, yeah, like I was saying, you're dealing with people who are just like pissed off for no reason all the time. Like, I think it's way better than volunteering, to be honest. I think it's way more useful. Is it good to put it as one of your most meaningful activities? I mean, I'm sure you've got a lot of good stories, right? I was a pharmacy tech in the hood, man. I've got tons of good stories from that. It's all about how you spin it, right? I know I'm probably getting trolled, but for real, though, if people have, work experiences like that, dude, spin a yarn, make it count for you, make it work. Should you mention if you're set on a specific specialty? Not as such. I wouldn't frame it that way. What if you have an OnlyFans? Well, I mean, dude, like, if you got it, flaunt it, Maybe you'll get some new subs from your interviewers, who knows? Why not? But yeah, if you feel like you're set on a specialty, I would just say that you're interested in it. The vast majority of people change their minds, and to be quite frank, neurosurgery is massively competitive, and the chances, even if you feel like you're set on it, the chances that you qualify for it are small. And clearly, I don't know you personally, Caffeine, and I'm not trying to like hate on you or anything, just stating facts. Neurosurgery is really hard to match into. Like, the competition is massively intense, and like, even amongst extremely qualified people, I think the match rate this year is like 69% or something. So good luck to you. But if you're like, oh man, I'm going into med school and I'm going to be a neurosurgeon, your interviewers are going to be like, oh, that's cute. Okay, cool. But you can, clearly you can state your interests. Like, you're an adult. You have things that you like. 74%? Okay, 74%. I'm corrected by chat. Still, that's, so think about if somebody said, hey, would you take on $300,000 of debt and spend 4 years of your life for a 3/4 chance of doing what you want? I mean, that's pretty daunting, right? Yeah, step one's pass fail, man. That's crazy. What if you volunteer in a hospital but you work along med techs? I mean, anything, yeah, that's relevant clinical experiences, especially if you're working with patients. Yeah, anything that you can talk about in a meaningful way and like connect it with your desire to be a doctor, it's fine. What are good questions to ask your interviewers? Oh, that's a great question. So good things to ask interviewers. I would ask a lot of practical stuff, like what's the student lifestyle like? What's the cost of living? What sorts of programs do they have for like loan repayment? Because a lot of schools do have some sort of like underserved population program that if you like sign a contract with the school and agree to do some sort of like, basically like work in an underserved area for X amount of time, and it may be for the school in particular, it might just be for a some sort of like accredited underserved hospital or clinic or whatever. Like, I know Arkansas, I went to med school at Arkansas. Arkansas had a program like that where they would comp your tuition if you did primary care in a rural area. Chat's hating on the neurosurgery or bust. idea. And Arkansas. Everybody hates Arkansas. But that's why I got in there. It's the only place I got in, but they still wanted me. They wanted me. I felt so good. Yeah, I would ask interviewers practical things like that. Debt service. Debt service is a big one. Cost of life. Cost of living. I would ask if they know anything about student life. Like, if they know anything about social activities and things like that. I don't know what they saw in me. I don't know, man, but I slipped through the cracks. Suckers. Yeah, let's see. What else would be good to ask your interviewers? I think that's pretty much it. That, like, to me, if somebody asked me that would show that they really were, like, thinking about what they're doing. You know, if you understand that this is a massively expensive process and, you know, you're gonna have to figure out some way to pay for it. Is it dumb to only apply to MD schools and not DO schools if you have a 510? No, I don't think so. I mean, I would, like, honestly, if I had to do it again, I didn't apply to any DO schools. I applied to 28 med schools, which was a ton when I did it, because it was all paper. Oh, I have to give out so many free Path of Exile copies today. But yeah, I mean, anything that you can do to hedge and make sure you don't cost yourself a year is worth it, in my opinion. What kind of extracurriculars should you include? Anything that had a meaningful impact on you in any fashion. Like, as long as you can talk about it and say, like, hey, I really enjoyed hiking because it helps me, you know, clear my mind and feel good about myself, and I like the exercise, and the outdoors is awesome. Like, put that in. Who cares? And Meow Red includes Taco Bell. This freaking Taco Bell. How much shadowing do you need? Yeah, you can shadow wherever you want. So how much shadowing you need is dependent on how much shadowing you want, in my opinion. I feel like shadowing has pretty limited utility. Like, well, let me rephrase that. The utility of shadowing drops off rapidly with repeated encounters. So because you can't really do anything, you know, you're not credentialed to, like, do any procedures, like, all you can do is watch. So, you know, after maybe, like, 2 or 3 times, you've probably seen everything that you're going to get out of a shadowing experience. And really, in my mind, shadowing is for you to, you know, decide whether you want to do medicine. Like, one of the bigger things that I evaluated in interviewers is, like, whether or not they actually, like, kind of did their due diligence to figure out whether career medicine was right for them. And the actual answer to that is that pretty much nobody does. It's more or less impossible to actually understand how much this career is going to impact you until you're, like, in the middle of it. But, you know, at least you can, like, put in the effort to try and, you know, get the relevant clinical experience and, you know, do the shadowing and get advice and all of that sort of stuff. And if you've bothered to take the time to do that, then, you know, you've done very well. Let's see. Sure. The milkman is asking me something. That's awesome. How will step 1 pass fail affect DOs? I mean, probably the same way it affects everyone, honestly. Step 2 is going to be, like, super important because it's the only, like, objective standard you have to be compared against other med students. Which I think is a terrible idea. Like, the whole point, as I understand it, of the NBME changing that, like, changing step 1 to pass fail, is that they wanted to take the focus off of a singular test. Whereas, really, they have done the exact opposite of that and put all of the focus only on 1 test instead of just on 2 tests. So, like, if you know, F up step 1, then you can at least maybe dig out a little bit with step 2, but not anymore. Not anymore. When answering why medicine in an interview, is it important to delve into both the science and clinical aspect? I don't think so. I mean, whatever your reason is your reason. And that, you know, the reasons are as many as there are people. So, I mean, you just say what your reason is. Like, I understand there's a game to be played here, but that's, you know, that only goes so far. Like, just tell people what your reason is. No big deal. Any opinions on being an MA, like a medical assistant? I think that's good. You think people overthink things with medical applications? Yeah, I totally, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, just be honest with people, man. If you're trying to like tell me about like, in that moment I wanted to be a doctor, like you want my eyes to glaze over, say that shit. Like I've heard that so many times. So interesting anecdote. So my now wife, girlfriend at the time, when I met her dad the first time, he was like, "Why the hell did you go to Arkansas?" And I was like, "Well, it's the only place I got in." And that like blew his mind. Like he thought I was gonna be this like pompous jerk, and he wasn't wrong. However, he thought I was gonna give him some like long drawn out, you know, well, you see, I applied to these schools, but in my opinion, this has blah blah blah. And I was like, "Nope, it's the only place I got in." And he was like, "Oh, okay. How can you stand out most effectively to match into a competitive specialty?" I mean, research, grades, scores. That's pretty much it, honestly. How can I tell what specialties a school is known for? That is a great question. The answer is, like, realistically, you probably can't. Unless there's, like, unless you know somebody there, like a student or a resident or something, you probably can't. So the example that I use for this all the time is Arkansas. When I was in Arkansas, they were a top 3 neurosurgery program. I do not know if that's still the case. I think it's not, because a lot of their big names left, like shortly after I left. But yeah, who would apply to Arkansas with the mentality that they're going to be at one of the best neurosurgery programs in the country? Not too many people, right? So that's a real wild card. And realistically, that doesn't make a whole lot of difference for med school, and you can probably figure that out a bit better for your specialty of choice, like during and before residency applications, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. But yeah, it's very hard to figure that out. Oh, and yeah, I'm totally fine asking residency questions, answering residency questions, by the way. Thought I was a med student? No, nah, man. I'm a private practice anesthesiologist. I've been doing it for like 6 years. Let's see. You have good clinical, good GPA, good ECs volunteering, shadowing leadership. Next best way to stand out through research? Yeah, it sounds like that's sort of the upcoming way. You're in 3 labs. Oh my god, dude. Really? 4 to 5K hours and a few pubs? What the fuck? You did college very differently than I did. Which I guess may be why I only got into one med school. Despite a 95th percentile MCAT. Will my strong research be the way to get into T20 schools, or is it better to focus on something like nonprofit health, education, or advocacy? I think you're fine, dude. I don't think you need to put any more effort into extracurricular activities. Rock the MCAT and you'll be good. So at this point, I think the MCAT is your way into top school. What do I mean, $2,000 to apply this year? Applying to med school is super expensive. That's what I mean. Like, you have to pay for the primary application, then a lot of places have a secondary application that's, you know, anywhere from like $50 to $200. So, can Taco Bell be a soft X factor? Damn it. Oh man. You probably spent like 8K. Yeah, we have an $8,000 quote in chat here. So yeah, I mean, it's I think 2,000 is a low ball anymore, to be honest. I probably spent about 3-ish, maybe a little more. And that was 12 years ago? 14 years ago. Jesus. Yep, I'm old. Thoughts on clinical experience? Currently a phlebotomist? Oh, I think that's totally clinical experience. Why would that not be clinical experience? That's super useful. That's actually like a skill-based thing. You'll be way ahead of anybody. And you'll probably have a little bit of an idea of like labs and stuff like that. That's totally useful. And if anybody disagrees, tell them Milkman said to shove it up their butt. What are my thoughts on reapplicants? Does it make a difference if you apply to that school last cycle versus new cycle? Okay. So my personal opinion is that reapplying, like, is good. You know, it shows that you're actually, like, dedicated to this. I believe the statistics do not agree with me, though. I think statistics are against reapplicants. Last I checked. So that is to say that reapplicants do worse in the application cycle overall than first-time applicants. And, you know, that's probably a skewed population because reapplicants obviously didn't get in the first time around, so maybe they're weaker overall. But yeah, I think it shows that you're dedicated, and yeah, like if you've applied to the same school again, that's especially true. How do my and my colleagues' opinions differ? So for Arkansas, at least when I was doing it, we didn't even get people's scores until afterwards. They would like give us we would talk to the applicant, and then they would give us their scores like in a packet after the interviews. So the answer, though, is school dependent, and some places do indeed look heavily at stats. Wash U in particular is notorious for that, it being stat whores as it goes. How's there compromise on deciding who gets in or not? That's why there's an admissions committee and not just an admissions person. Everybody sort of has different views on this, on that subject. One thing, so I will give you my personal bias. So I feel like a bad score on the MCAT is really bad for your application, because most people who score poorly but have like a good GPA use the excuse that they don't work well under pressure. And so tell me, do you want a doctor who doesn't work well under pressure? I don't. I definitely don't want a surgeon who doesn't work well under pressure, an anesthesiologist who doesn't work well under pressure. So, and while those things are trainable, you know, to say something like that is not going to do you any favors. And while that, you know, that might get some traction with other people, for me, I'm like, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know about that. Do I know if more top tiers prefer advocacy or research? No idea. $4,000 hours of clinical experience, is that competitive? Yeah, that's a lot of clinical experience. That is competitive. You're a grocery store worker, do you think it'll look more impressive like the Taco Bell experience? Yeah, I mean, again, like you're dealing with people, dude. You've got tons of experience doing that, and like people are mad at you and you have to deal with bad situations. Yes, spin it well. That'll help you. Can you get in with 15 hours of shadowing? Yeah. I mean, if you feel like you got what you needed to out of shadowing. So shadowing is one thing where I don't think anybody has much of a variance of opinion. Everybody understands that it's of limited utility after a little bit. So yeah, you're good. You're willing to do whatever it takes to cure brain cancers? Whoa. Oh, son. Yeah. Brain cancers, huh? Well, unfortunately, the treatment for a lot of them is a big pack of steroids and a trip to the beach, and just wait for it to win. Everyone says they want to be an advocate, but not actually done advocacy. I've never heard of advocacy as like something to do for like to qualify for med school, but I guess that makes sense. 69% match rate in neurosurge high? No, it's terrible. Yeah, so Gucci Brand in chat corrected me. It's 74% match. I will actually, let's look at the charting outcomes. Does anybody have the charting outcomes that they can link for me? Let's see, charting outcomes 2021, yeah, 2022, there we go. There we go. I think I got it. Yep, I got it. Okay, results and data, the main 2021 match. So, let's see here. I'm just scrolling through this, trying to... Here. So, there's this thing called charting outcomes in the match, and I will link this in Discord, and this is going to totally screw up my position. Oh, maybe it's not. Anyway, so yeah, suffice it to say that 74% is not good. Like, the year that I applied for anesthesia's match rate was like 96, 96%, and I think this year was like 79. It's absolutely atrocious. It's crazy how much more competitive residency has gotten. Now, this is... Wrong form, I have to scroll down on that page, go back. Uh-oh! This one? Oh no! Which one is it, this? Advanced data tables? Go down. I'm going down. I'm going found. Here? Is this what you're talking about? God, just freaking link it to me, dude. You're killing me. Killing me. All right, I'm going back to answering questions. We'll get the NRMP thing in just a minute. But yeah, the match rate is very low. The last year's, like, the 2 matches last year's were actually, like, awful. Ortho was, like, in the low 60s, if I remember right. If you applied to all med schools with a 3.95 and a 5.15, what are the chances you could get into one? Very good. Step 1 being pass-fail. Will brown nosing the program directors at home program help you? Yeah, absolutely. You're gonna have to do a lot of that. All right, Gucci. Nice. Nice. Let's see. Open. Is that opening in my browser? There we go. Boop. Got it. Oh, that's for DOs. And this is for MD students. Rockin'. Love it. Thank you. That's what I'm looking for. So if you guys are on Twitch, you can see what I'm looking at. Okay, so match rates for anesthesia were 89.5 this year, which is still way lower. Ortho was 66, roughly. ENT 69. Plastics 62.7. Neurosurgery was 74, actually, which is not bad. Hey, Corn. What's up, man? Thank you for following. Appreciate it. Hope you're enjoying the stream. That little kind guy. You guys. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. But yeah, so basically, like, the match rates this year are just terrible. You know, again, like, if you say, hey, I want to go into dermatology, are you going to take out $300,000 and sacrifice 4 years of your life? Say, well, I've got a 7 out of 10 shot at doing what I want. Sort of sucks, right? Yes, yes, yes. Dr. Bing Bong in chat mentions that there is a huge disparity between match rates for DO students and match rates for MD students, which is 100% true. So we will kind of delve into that real quick here. So here's DO students. So, like, remember the numbers that I just mentioned. So, like, anesthesia was 79.5%. For DO students, it's 66. For neurosurgery, it's 42 instead of 74. Right? So this is, like, this is way different. So, you know, you'll still probably be a doctor, but you might not get your choice. Right? You'll chances are much better that you'll end up in primary care whether you want to or not. Yeah, here. There we go. Oh, shoot. See if I can get this to where it's side by side. I am terrible at this. God damn. Okay, there we go. Alright, so here's the match rate side by side. Right? That is a big difference. Like, wow. Huge difference, right? So yeah, Dios suffer in the match, for sure. You didn't know there's a Twitch channel? Hey, yep, there is. Thanks for joining. Big Spad, go to MD. Yeah, I mean, you definitely should go to MD school if you can. Best volunteer experiences? Especially non-clinical? I mean, I don't know. I would do something like a food kitchen. Like, do whatever you want, man. Like, do something that you find interesting and fulfilling, and it'll be much more useful to you in an application sense if you actually, like, want to be there or, like, feel like you're doing good. I hope I slip through the cracks too. You might. You might. Would I say that crisis counseling is a good activity? Hell yeah. That's an awesome activity. That's tough, man. That's really tough. But yes, absolutely. What's my opinion on online teaching as an extracurricular? Is that really an extracurricular? Sounds like a job. But yeah, I mean, that seems useful. Seems like a good thing to do. Let's see. What amount of clinical hours is competitive? I don't know that there's necessarily, like, an amount that's competitive. It's what you get out of it. I mean, I would aim for at least, like... I mean, what, like, so if you work a job, if you work a part-time job, that's what, like, 20 to 25 hours a week. So if you do that for a year, that's plenty. So I'd, like, 1,000 should be more than enough. You know, like, more than enough. That's just like a part-time job for a year, in my opinion. That's plenty of time to, like, figure out what's going on and, you know, make some useful opinions about what you're doing with your career. Max GPA for you is 3.5. Does an upward trend showing GPA help cover up a bad experience? Yes, it does. Does taking more classes and elective courses help increase GPA? I mean, it does if you do well. If you do well in your courses, your GPA will go up, oddly enough. Thoughts on community service? I mean, again, if it's something that you value and can talk about in a, you know, thoughtful, like, circumspect way, then yes, it's useful. And that would be its value, is you have some sort of, you know, helpful activity that you've done that you can talk meaningfully about. That is its own help, right? In the Discord and intimidated, but you committed going pre-med over a lot of thought. You spoke with the pre-med advisor, there we go, at your university and informed you what you need. 1 year of research, volunteer hours. What are my thoughts on any other information that you think is key? I mean, that's pretty generic, right? So, yeah, research, volunteer hours, like clinical work, GPA. I mean, that's sort of the nuts and bolts of a successful experience, or a successful application, right? But yeah, ultimately, you just have to be able to, you know, to have the qualifications to get in the door, first off, right? And then in the interview, like, explain to people that you're a real person, that you're not a total robot, and, you know, have some, like, interesting things to say about your experiences. That's my preference as an interviewer, is that you're actually able to, like, communicate well. No problem. You're welcome. Thanks for your question. Good question. Projected activities are much less valuable. Yeah, it's all about what you've done. There's an adage in medicine that if it isn't documented, it didn't happen. And that's kind of the same deal here, right? So if it hasn't actually happened, then you basically can't claim it. Let's see. It's the best answer I've seen for why they want to be a doctor. Usually it's people who have like some sort of like profound personal experience with medicine, whether it's like with a family member or like personal. Like I know an ENT surgeon who has Treacher-Collins syndrome, like a syndrome. It's like a facial deformity thing, and he's an ENT surgeon. I mean, how badass is that, right? That's super cool. I did not interview him. He's maybe a couple years my senior, but like super, super duper cool story. You'll be sure to mention in your anesthesia interviews that you learned how to play Path of Exile in your free time. They'll probably think that's cool. However, they're gonna look down on you for not playing golf and not driving your boat. Maybe a pilot's license would be a plus too. So get on it, buddy. You'll never make it in this career if you can't learn how to chillax a little harder than that. Oh, you play golf too? Okay, well, never mind. No, you're good. You're good. We got this. Cool. Awesome. Show up to your interview drunk and you're set. What do you think about including, like being a YouTuber, Twitch, or Instagrammer? I mean, like it shows that most likely you're better than most nerds who apply to med school at public speaking, at presenting. So, yeah, I mean, as long as you're not doing anything that's like, you know, morally objectionable or like obviously offensive on those channels, then what if the channel's about gaming? It's fine. That's a neutral topic. What's the best strength and weakness in terms of actually getting into med school? I don't think there's any one thing that would do that. Like I said, it's kind of a sum of parts. Because everybody's experiences are different. You know, within this sort of like checkbox meshwork that we've created for med school application, you know, everybody's got the volunteerism and the clinical experience and the grades and yada yada yada. But yeah, there's no one thing that's gonna get you into med school in terms of like personal strength. Did I go to a top 10 school? No, not at all. I went to Arkansas and I did my anesthesia residency at University of Kansas, and anesthesia was not competitive. Well, it was middle of the road competitive when I did it, but like still like 95+% of people matched. Can you project a bunch of hours and then when you accept not deliver? I mean, yes, you can, but you know, I don't know. Realistically, nobody will check on that. But again, like I said, if you haven't done it, then nobody's gonna put any stock in that. Is it okay to submit a secondary without any review if you're spending too much time writing it? Yes, as long as you think it's okay. I mean, don't be fooled by this like low tier, mid tier school thing. You're still applying to med school, guys. Like, it's still a monstrously competitive ordeal, you know, and all of the people that you're up against are really, really qualified. You know, whether you're going to Arkansas or Harvard, you're still up against like the best college students in the nation. And like, you know, just because it's in Kansas or Missouri or something doesn't mean that some like freaking buck-toothed yokel is reading your personal statement. These are all like extremely educated, well-established, experienced people. So like, if you think you're applying to like, oh, quote, low-tier med school, and you can just like pawn some random shit off on them and they won't notice because you're so much better than they are, well, you got another thing coming, dude. Do you need strong ties to Arkansas? Yes, most likely. And most of my family is from there, but even so, they admit very few people from out of state. What's the hardest answers I would give on interviews? You mean hardest questions? Advice to Canadians applying to US med schools? Just tell them you're Canadian and you're probably auto-accepted. Because Americans sort of suck these days. I kid, sort of. The hardest questions I would ask on interviews. I would kind of put the screws to people, honestly. Like, sometimes if they gave an answer that was kind of questionable, like the well, I did bad on the MCAT because I just like kind of cracked under pressure. I'm like, oh really? Well, that's interesting. How do you feel you would do, if one of your patients like acutely starts doing bad? Like, would you crack under pressure then? Seems like a bad thing. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't like light a fire under people, but I would ask hard questions like that. Yeah, and Lil Guy, I think Dr. Bing Bong covered your DO versus MD question pretty good there. That's about it. Let's see. Hardest race or gender to get into med school? I mean, I think Asians, actually. I think Asian is statistically the most difficult, right? Isn't step pass fail now? So yeah, step 1 is pass fail. Step 2 is still scored. And so it's the only objective test that you have for residency qualifications, which is crazy. There's 3 steps, in fact, and the third one you take after the first year of residency. Let's see. Is step harder than MCAT? Oh my god, yes. It's so much harder. All of them are way harder. There's so much more material. Step 1 is literally all of your first 2 years of med school on one test. All of it. Yeah, step 1 is probably one of the hardest tests that exist, period. I agree with that. Yeah, totally agree. Like, across all specialties, or, like, all careers. Like, I would put money down. I've never taken the bar exam, but I would bet your ass that step 1 is way harder than any state's bar exam. Vet school? I don't know. Vet school might give it a run for its money, just because it's so broad. But still, dude, step 1 is an absolute ball buster. Anesthesia sounds dope, but so many years? Well, it's only 4 years of residency, dude. Dudette, excuse me. It's 4 years of residency. So, I mean, yes, it is so many years, but if you're already doing medicine, like, you're at least 7 at baseline. The shortest residency is 3 years. Wake generates a good number of anesthesiologists. Yeah, Wake actually has a really well-known anesthesia program. So I think that's probably why. They're well known to have a very good, very strong anesthesia training program. You're going into medicine because there's nothing for you in the real world? That sounds like a future pathologist to me. Maybe radiology, maybe anesthesia? Perhaps. Does having a humanity rec letter, is that bad? No, I think probably one of my best rec letters was a humanities letter, actually. Anything that can, like, say you're awesome and compare you with other people and say that you're better than they are is gonna be super helpful to you. Let's see. Best reason when asked why medical school, the money. What is it that Dr. Cox says? Like chicks, money, power, and chicks. So I went into medicine. Something like that. Oh my god, there's so much. Jesus, you guys are into this. I love it. Scrubs is the best medical show, bar none. 100% agree. Let's see, is 200 hours of clinical research considered competitive? I mean, in my opinion, that would check the box, but what would I do if somebody said the money? I would tell them that it's a terrible career to go into just for the money. No, I wouldn't reject them right away. I'd just tell them that that's a bad idea. I mean, so it's really nice to have like a guaranteed six-figure career. Well, assuming you get in, you have a guaranteed six-figure career. But dude, if you're willing to put in the same amount of work to like a finance career or something, you can do so much better than most medical careers. I mean, there are some exceptions to that rule, but you want to see somebody that honest? I would give them points for honesty for sure, but also like take away points for not reading the room, you know, like want to make fat stacks. I mean, like, if that doesn't at least cross your mind when you're looking into spending your entire 20s for a career, you're kind of doing this ass backwards, right? Or you're one of the rare people who just like legitimately does not care at all how much money they make. But that's, you know, 0.000% of people in this world. Am I from Arkansas? No, I'm not. I'm from Missouri. Grew up in Kansas City. Not everyone can become a CEO or an entrepreneur. Yeah, I mean, that's true. But you don't have to. You don't have to. You can get a pretty lucrative job, you know, in a, like, middle management or something. But dude, if you're willing to put in 80-hour weeks for 7 years, you're gonna get there. By the way, this is probably time that so I know not all of you will make it into med school, as much as I would love for you to achieve your goals. Yeah, so medicine is like basically guaranteed, which is really nice. Like, you're gonna have that six-figure job, right? So that's nice. But there's a ceiling. There's like a really fast ceiling that you hit basically immediately when you graduate residency, or at least within a couple years. But anyway, for those of you who do not get into med school, I would strongly suggest a career as an anesthesiologist assistant. And the people in my Twitch chat probably are super sick of me like blowing that horn, but it is a serious cheat code. Like, it's a 2.5-year master's program. You make $200,000. You're very competitive, like in a very competitive field where, you know, people are kind of right now bending over backwards to employ you. And it's less competitive than med school. It's still kind of what I would consider moderately competitive overall. But damn, dude, I would think real hard about that before spending another year of opportunity cost and signing up for 7 years of training if you don't get in the first time. And a lot of the programs will start in this, like, January or February. So you might not even waste any time. You might not even have a gap year. Does going to a prestigious med school affect your future employability in residency? It affects residency potentially. It affects employability if you're wanting to go to, like, academics. Yeah, if you want to do like a, you know, like social climb and do research and stuff, then prestige is going to matter. I would say it actually sort of like inversely matters if you're going to do private practice. Like, we actually had a guy who was Harvard educated and had a ton of research apply to our group, like our small group in kind of almost rural Missouri. And he had, you know, like I said, a pretty impressive CV. And we were looking at it, we're like, why the hell does this guy want to come here? You know, it's like suspicious. Like, can you not get a job anywhere else? What's going on? That specialty to make tons of money with decent lifestyle. Dermatologist, agree. That's the way to do it. What do I think about prestigious schools versus non-prestigious ones for undergrad? I mean, it helps. Like, you know, going to a big name school helps. But not really that much. Anesthesia 79% match. Yeah, that was wrong. We went over that, but it's still way lower. It's like 89%. But it's much more competitive than it was. For MD students. For DOs it was 66%. So that was rough. Yeah, I think it may have been 79% overall. I think, yeah. Why does DO have lower match rates? Bias, historical bias. That's why. Like anti-DO bias. Is anesthesia good if you mostly just care about money? I mean, it's middle of the road, dude. Full commit to ortho or neurosurgery. I mean, but both of those are like, you're gonna sell your soul. You're gonna sell your soul to the medicine gods, dude. Anesthesia, like, if you want to do a, like, where's the red flag emoji? Yeah, seriously, right? Where's the Twitch stream? It is in my profile. It's twitch.tv/milkmanal1. I've seen the Dr. Clockenflecken. Yes, I've seen all of those. He's awesome. So I like Meowred's takes. This shit is gold. So how many hours per week would you say is good target for research hours? Results are what matter. Yeah. Results are what matter. 100% agree. Where do you see the future of these 28-hour shifts going? They're not going anywhere. It's too profitable for hospitals to overwork residents. There are a lot of places that are unionizing these days, which is awesome. I hope that keeps going. I'm sure there are residency programs that don't have 28-hour calls, but yeah. I seriously doubt that's going anywhere. Maybe she'll... Oh, here we go. Dr. Bing Bong from Twitch chat. Yep, sure do. I want to go there. Here we go. This is an excellent site for mentorship, courtesy of med students. So if you would like to experience that, I suggest you go here, and I will link this in chat, or in Discord, sorry. Boop. Alright. Let's get back to it here. I'm sure I lost my place. Oh my god. Do. Switching between two different resolutions of monitors is a real pain in the butt. Alright, I'm gonna pick a place. Nope, that was a bad place. Way past that. Still way past that. Still way past this. Oh god. Which side is that? Here, I'll link it. Boop. Pediatrics and family medicine? Nah, dude. Pediatrics and family medicine and residency still do 24-hour calls. Probably not as much as, like, surgery or anesthesia do, but yeah. Your advisor said they never check anything. They honestly don't have time to do that. Like, unless you know, write something totally, like, audacious on your application, like you have 30,000 hours of XYZ, like, nobody's gonna look into that. I mean, I'm not encouraging you to lie on your med school application, honestly, but, like, realistically, it's never gonna happen. I've honestly never even considered that. I just look at the number and move on. if I'm even given a number. I don't recall whether or not they listed numbers in the like information that we were given as interviewers. Are top 20 overrated? Unless you're doing academics, yes. Is it bad to talk about potentially illegal, sketchy shadowing experiences? Yes! What the fuck? Don't do that. A trauma surgeon at your hospital let a pre-med shadow do a suction in a surgery? No! Don't tell them you did anything illegal. Are you kidding me? Yeah, absolutely do not mention that. Yeah, if you want to do ortho, then yeah, go as high as you can. You're killing me, man. You're already a med student, jerk. But yeah, if you can get a top 20 ortho program, then yeah. How much can you get away with lying on your apps? I wouldn't chance it, because if somebody asks you about it and you can't, you know, talk about some experience that you listed you have 500 hours doing or something, then you're up shit creek. That's gonna look terrible. People who talk about drug use in personal statements, yeah, don't do that. Absolutely don't do that. Already bench 315? Nice. Nice. But what if you weigh like 120 pounds? Can I talk about a little bit about successful applicants who don't have research? Yeah, they have lots of meaningful experiences and good grades, and like, to me, research, like, I don't buy into the like checkbox thing. It's I think people who volunteer just to volunteer, like just to like have that on their application, are just wasting their time. I understand that that's like something most people kind of quote need to do to get into school, but it seems so ass backwards to me. My opinion, as I've sort of alluded to earlier, is like everybody applying to med school is an adult. You know, you have your reasons for wanting to go to med school, and it's important that you are able to articulate those. So like, med school is not about research to me. I think this focus on research is like heinously misguided. Like, if you want to do research, get a PhD, or if you want to do research with your MD, do so. You know, once you have your MD, you get involved in it in med school. I don't really understand why there's so much of a focus on something to get qualified for a degree that doesn't focus on research. I don't get it. None of this makes any sense to me. So in my personal opinion, like, if you don't have research, that's fine. Like, as long as you make it to the interview stage and you can talk about your other experiences, like we've gone over and over in this chat so far, like, you're fine. It's totally good. I personally did not have any research. Yeah, do not go to Caribbean schools, by the way. Successfully intubated a mannequin. Congratulations. Yes, you are instantly qualified to be an anesthesiologist. Come on, we're actually looking for a person, so submit your CV. What kind of meaningful experiences do I have? Are you talking to me? You know I'm an anesthesiologist, right? I've been doing this for 6 years. For med school, what kind did I have? I was a pharmacy tech for like 3 years. I'd done a lot of volunteering for harvesters, which is something that I just kind of like had done for a while, like through high school. What else did I do? I can't remember what else I had on my application at that time. That was a long time ago. I think that was honestly pretty much it. Yeah, I didn't do a whole lot. My application was not great. It was not good. I had a rocket MCAT score and everything else was mediocre at best. I did volunteer at a hospital a little bit. But no, they didn't ask me that. Because I think the attitude towards volunteerism is maybe like I'm on the far end of the spectrum saying it's useless, but most people are pretty much like, yeah, volunteering, meh. You love how savage I am when addressing students who bring up pressure mistakes. Yeah, I know all of these questions are like way behind, but I'm just going through it. I want to make sure everybody... Are Caribbean schools really bad? Yes, absolutely. They're heinous. They call people ruthlessly. Yeah, you can... I mean, if you make it through, you can come back for residency, but you're, like, way behind the 8 ball in terms of qualifications for matching, regardless of your scores. And, like, I've heard numbers higher than 50%. They just auto-cut after the first 2 years. They just expel you, basically. Funniest or worst interview stories? I didn't really have a whole lot. It was mostly just people being like really nervous and misspeaking or something. There wasn't anything like super dramatic. Most of my funny interview stories were from me being the interviewee. Let's see. How do people treat you after I got accepted? Oh, my family were super proud of me, and so were my friends. I got in off the wait list, so it was like a long wait. Very long wait. I actually got in on my mom's birthday, which was pretty cool. How does it look if you got a psych bachelor's with a 3.2 and nailed your science recs? No, you will not immediately get turned out if your GPA is 3.5. Not universally. You'll probably, you know, get called by some, like, you know, some screen. You'll get screened out in a lot of places. What about the top 4 Caribs? No, they all suck. Don't go there. Don't go to the Caribbean. It's terrible. Yeah, the match rates are still awful. And they're very expensive. But yeah, if you can make it through the screening process, then you're fine. Just apply super broadly, assuming you have a decent MCAT score. And by decent, I mean, like, probably pretty good. Some major red flags for interviewing? I mean, we mentioned one, like not being able to talk about your experience as well is a huge one. Also, like not being able to provide a cogent answer to questions that you know you're gonna get asked, like why do you want to come here? Why medicine? Tell me about yourself. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Like if you just kind of stutter and like, you know, fumble through those, that's gonna get an eye roll every time. What are some things I wish I had done before starting med school? I don't know, man. Not much. I feel like I did pretty well. I do wish that I had known more about it. Okay, so yeah, I guess the answer is I wish I had been more educated about how to apply to med school, because my application cycle sucked. It started super late. I had no idea what I was doing. I struggled really bad to like do my coursework and write all my secondary essays, and yeah, I wish I had known what I was getting into. I actually didn't know what the MCAT was until like 2 months before I took it. Does being a med student help you find dating partners? If you're a man, yes. If you're a woman, I have found that it is the exact opposite. People do not like it. Being a professional RuneScape player. If you're actually a professional, then yes. That would be very interesting. Let's see. There's the prescribe it forward thing. Oh, are we talking about AAs? Yeah, so the problem with anesthesia assistant is that it's not certified in all states. I think there's like 18 states or something that they can practice in. But still, pretty awesome option. My cheeks are rosy right now. Yeah, it's really hot in here. It's really hot in my room. My computer is cranking. What did you say? It sounds something. Say something about killing less patients. Why AA versus CRNA? Does one kill less patients? No, but the AA track is fewer years. Like, CRNAs have sort of tacked on an extra year of training for nothing to make it a, quote, doctorate. Even though it's, like, it's basically all nursing theory, as I understand it, which is clinically useless. So, if you include the year of intensive care practice that they require, then it's 4 years instead of 2.5. So it's a whole bunch of extra opportunity cost. What year should you start studying for the MCAT? I'd give it like 6 months or something before you take it. That's an interesting chart for the MCAT GPA. Let's see. Let's see what I would have been. I think I was in the 3.0 to 3.1. So let's see. Greater than 517. I think, yeah, because I think my 35 was like a 518, 519, something like that. So it was what, like 52% got in? I beat the odds, baby! Or no, I was with the odds. Barely. What strategies worked for me studying the MCAT? You don't want to study for the MCAT like I did. Do as I say, not as I do. I basically just read the Princeton Review book, cover to cover, and I was also a physics major, among other things, so I didn't really have to study the physics. I'm also very good at reading comprehension, so I didn't study that either. I basically just studied chemistry and biology, and that's it. Practice questions. The answer to everything is, you know, how should I study for X is practice questions. That's always the answer. Is anesthesia good for money, lifestyle, chill, Sudoku, and coffee? All of the above, sir. However, occasionally it's very bad for chill. That's part of the problem. I know. Dude, yeah, Random Chatter's on point tonight with the trolling. I love it. This is enjoyable trolling. I'm down. I'm totally down. Whoa, did I actually catch up? I think I caught up. Oh my goodness. Alright. Gonna take a break and get some coffee. Yeah, that's right, man. Preparing for your residency. It's perfect. Did I use Anki throughout school? I don't think it existed when I was in school, or at least I didn't know about it. I used UWorld all the way through, and it was amazing. Super useful. Having a fiance from a state constitutes strong ties? Yeah, probably. I mean, that seems like, you know, especially if that person's not planning to move, then yes. In my opinion, what are the best sounding clinical hours to go into and prepare you? Yeah, EMT is awesome. I mean, that's a quintessential choice. But yeah, any clinical job is good. like being a medical assistant, scribing, pharmacy tech, I don't know. What else could you do? Like CNA, stuff like that. It's all useful. So a lot of people like surf their phones and stuff in the operating room, to be honest with you. You shouldn't do that, because it's like, if they can demonstrate that you were doing that during the case, it's pretty legally indefensible. Like if something bad happens. Stepwise, describe how to make a traditional red sauce? What kind of red sauce are we talking? There are plenty of sauces that are red. The best thing to say when you haven't done much your gap years? I mean, tell them what you did. Like, did you work? Were you doing it to make money? Were you doing it because school was stressing you out and you needed a break? Like, these are all reasonable things to say. Yeah, you can tell them whatever you did. Like, I mean, just be honest. Do I have my own Jonathan? No, I do not. I have an electronic medical record that I get all my data to flow into. But no person writing it down. I just have a bunch of lackeys who sit in the rooms for me and take care of all my patients and hopefully don't kill them. Would I recommend private practice? I absolutely would. I would never work in academics. Here's a really good site for you guys. I hate the academic style. So those of you who are on stream can see this, but I'll link this in Discord. And you guys on Twitch, or... Do I have my own personal peg boy? Yes, I do. That's why I like private practice so much. Okay, so I would say this OfferDex site overall, at least in my area, is low. These numbers are low. So you will notice how much less the academic people make. And they also typically tend to have a whole lot more demands on them. So they have to teach, they have to present, you know, possibly do research, all that sort of stuff. So I hate that. I like going to work, getting my shit done, and going home. That's what it's all about. I leave work at work. You know, it's a job. I'm working to live. It is a new site, yeah. But yeah, very useful. You're working to die? I mean, I guess we all kind of are, right? And you're on the front end of medical education, so you're dying a lot faster than most. But yeah, so I will briefly soapbox. I feel like medical education does an exceptionally poor job of preparing you for all things financial. And so if you at least just know what you're worth, like look at this site, that's a good ballpark, that'll help you out a lot. Because if they said, hey, pediatrics makes half as much as anybody else, you should totally go into pediatrics. It sounds fucking dumb, right? It sounds like a really bad idea. You do the same amount of training as everyone else and you make half the money. I mean, they don't lead with that because they want people to get drawn in. They don't tell you it's financially dumb, but oh, it is. But yes, I love private practice. It's like, you're much more flexible, but it does have its downsides. Like just recently, one of my partners, there are 8 docs in my group and 18 anesthetists, 18, 19 anesthetists. One of my partners had both his knees replaced and we've been covering for him for the last 2 months. He comes back next week, which is going to be great. But yeah, we just sort of ate it for 2 months, down a person. So not cool, but I would rather do that and make way more money than work more and do things that I don't like. And have to worry about trainees all the time. Because in anesthesia, that's scary. Like, you know, in internal medicine or something, it might be annoying because you have to like go fix shit and like make orders right. But in anesthesia, they can like legit kill somebody or hurt someone. And I've seen that. The best way to stand out as an applicant without raising red flags? I mean, do all the things that we talked about earlier, right? Like, have good experiences, be prepared for your interviews, you know, be an eloquent, communicative, amiable person. Would I ever consider a pain management fellowship? I did. I actually went into anesthesia with the idea that I was going to do pain, but then I decided that I hate pain clinic. I just do not like clinic at all. So I punted on that idea. And fortunately, I like anesthesia enough to do it for the rest of my career. But yeah, pain is pretty good lifestyle. You're going to be really busy. You'll work very hard during the day, but you're going to go home and you might make 7 figures. Why? Just give opioids. No, dude, it's all about the procedures. You give people steroid shots. Yeah, see, Morbius, just looked at those numbers. You think those are too low, right? This is what you need to be prepared for. One of your friends knows a guy who did an MD straight to tech working in healthcare coding. Yeah, you can totally do that. You can totally do that. It does not ruin your chances for residency as long as you haven't applied, as I understand it. I don't know what the, like, statute of limitations on a medical education is, but I think if you choose not to do residency immediately, you pretty well commit to whatever career that you're taking on. I would imagine that you can probably get into primary care still, but why would you want to do that? The recommended cocktail for studying. Nice. Offerdicks.com. I promise I didn't link any porn. There might be virus in there, but no porn. The Offerdex stats on a per hour basis. Recently I've worked like low 50s hours per week. Usually it's upper 40s, including call. So, let's run the math real quick. So we'll just use these numbers, right? So 469. Nice. So 469,000. So I have 10 weeks of vacation, so we'll divide that by 42 equals, and then divided by 48-ish. So $230 an hour is roughly where I'm at. Let's see what Trump's mushroom head actually looks like. That's weird. You guys are going weird places. Let's see. Can I write a script for 20 gigs of fentanyl? Yeah, absolutely. Are you sure you don't want 50? Yeah, I'll just write it for 50, man. We'll round it up. The best schools in the USA for stats? I think Wash U is traditionally way up there. They're kind of all about getting high stats, but, you know, other than that, the schools that you would expect, like your Ivies and California schools, are up there. Do I know a Wendy? I do know a Wendy. Why do you ask? Watch you is lower because people recognize their autism. Wendy's nuts at my chin. Oh, you got me. Oh, damn. Oh, damn. Let's see. Why do biochem and bio majors score sub 500s in the MCATs when the retention required for a 4.0 but only require recall and not actual learning when studying for the MCAT? Well, I mean, there's lots of physics and reading comprehension and stuff. There's other factors to the MCAT, right? Not to mention just like straight up biology. Like, a lot of people get a bio major just by doing the prereqs for med school. That was the case for me. Chat's going wild. Can I describe how epidurals work? Yeah, you inject local anesthetic into the epidural space, and it gets into your spinal. Like, in your spine, basically. Spinal cord. And you anesthetize all of the nerves coming out of your spinal cord. So, yeah. How long will I be streaming? As long as people keep asking questions. Probably another hour or so. Usually these things go like 3 hours. Something about sodium channels. Very good, young one. Very good. Let's see here. Biology's not a real major. It's not a very useful major, unfortunately. Pretty much grad school is the only thing you can do. Need to finish 300 Enki cards, but I'm more important. Oh man, you are so sorely wrong. You're so wrong. Yeah, I agree that, like, so Enki's flash cards, right? It's, yeah, I think practice questions are the way to go. Because you have to be engaged to answer those. And as soon as you can't be engaged, you stop. There's zero mental coasting through actual good practice questions. It's just, like, impossible to do. I am a boomer. I am definitely a boomer. Oh man. Woo! Can't believe I caught up with Discord. You guys are crazy. If you accept one offer, can you accept another? Not necessarily. So you can, like, leverage acceptances. Like, you can leverage school against each other, but you have to, I think you have to, like, actually confirm that you're accepting an offer, and that's permanent. Is it possible to work more in private practice and make more? Kind of. Yeah. Yeah, kind of. There are occasional calls to pick up, but we do take a lot of call. There's only 7 of us taking call, so, like, it works out so that when you're working, we're actually on call like every 4 days, which 24-hour call, which sort of sucks. Like, most of the time we get called like once or twice a night for like an epidural, a labor epidural. So you're only up for, 20 minutes, but it's still disrupted sleep. If I wanted to pick up more, I could at like other institutions, most likely. Can I sleep when I'm on call? Yeah. In fact, I make every effort to sleep when I'm on call. Like I said, usually I'll probably get like 6 hours of sleep a night most of the time. I missed your question. Sorry. How good does it look if you did social work for 5 years? Quite good. Social work is a very thankless, poorly reimbursed job. So you've got a really good idea what it takes to deal with, patients, especially angry ones who need placement. So yeah, good. I'm missing a lot? What other ones am I missing? There's a lot of, like, conversation going on. If I missed a question, just ask it again. It's no big deal. I mean, there are, like, an entire... there's a huge amount of text to read through, so... Yeah, if I missed your question, just post it again. It's no big deal. I'll get you. From D schools, oh. some unexpected things to look out for in med school and beyond. Well, I kind of mentioned one of them, and that's nobody prepares you for getting a job or what to look for. Definitely know, like, you know your worth, know how much you should be making, because when you sort of come to the point where you're applying for jobs, I think you'll find that there are a lot of places that are going to try to hose you. Like, they will offer you what sounds like a whole lot of money, and like maybe offer you a big signing bonus, and try to like trap you before you get out into the workforce, and like trap you into like a workshop. Basically, there are lots and lots and lots of places that do this, especially academic centers or like huge corporate run hospitals will do that as well. They just like prey on new grads because you don't know any better. So definitely play the field a little bit. That's probably the biggest thing. But let's see, what else? It's like everything that's totally unexpected and huge has to do with finance, honestly. Figure out how to pay for school, figure out what you should make with your job, you know, and like what to expect. You're gonna hop off at 10 p.m. Am I okay to continue? Yeah, absolutely. Yep, absolutely okay to continue. Thank you for hosting. I appreciate it. Invest in the S&P and put it in it for many years. Yeah, I agree. I would get a financial advisor, at least at first, to kind of like get yourself off the ground. Like, figure out a loan repayment plan, get some basic investments going, like get all this, you know, tax sheltered investing and whatnot that you can manage, get your retirement organized and all that sort of thing. What specialty are my kids going into? Hopefully anything but medicine. You did a BA thesis, finished it, and were graded for the project, but it wasn't published. Can you still claim it? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Why would you not? Yeah, CEO specialty. Amen. What do I think about affirmative action? Oh my goodness. Well, I will tell you this. It's well documented that patients respond better to people who are like them, culturally. And that leads to better outcomes, leads to better patient care. So, you know, like it or not, we do need more minority doctors for that reason. In my opinion. But that is an evidence-based opinion. Hey, Plasma Steak. See you later, man. Dermer bust. Gucci, you have changed specialties like 8 times already, man. You're like 2 months into med school. What are you doing? Why anything but medicine? It's so hard. And everybody's like matching poorly these days. Dude, I don't want my kid to go through that. Thoughts on clinical? Oh my god, so many things. Clinical rotations outside your med school network, probably good for you. It's good to have different perspective because like cultures, hospital cultures get sort of interwoven into practice. And it's good to see like the way that you do things other places. Healthcare policy as a med student, you will have very good insurance through your school, probably. Research not resulting in publication. Not ideal, but again, if you can talk about it, you know, reasonably and usefully, then it's good. Non-SMP master's programs. I mean, that's presumably a whole crapload of research experience, so might as well. Should be very useful. Asians who are discriminated against because there are so many of them, that sucks. There's not much you can do about it. I mean, honestly. Any med students want to be friends. Med students don't have friends. It's just a fact. Thoughts on FlexMed? I do not know what FlexMed is. Let's look it up. Early admissions? Oh, well, I mean, anything that's going to get you a guaranteed spot in a school is a good idea. Would I recommend... Oh, would I recommend my kids do PA or AA? No, I just recommend they do something totally different. I mean, I'm not going to, like, obstruct my kid from going into medicine, but I will definitely be like, hey, this is a really difficult lifestyle, and it's massive delayed gratification. St. George or bust. Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, I would recommend, like, if that had to be something in the medical field, I would say anesthesia assistant is really tough to pass up. Oh, you're welcome, Marcus. I'm more than happy to do this AMA. I kind of enjoy doing this, actually. It's nice to get everybody's questions answered. It's sort of the whole point of me doing this, like, live stream thing, honestly. Like, nobody's available to answer these questions in, like, real talk. How many references should you give for med schools? Like, rec letters? I mean, I think 5 is the limit, right? So, obviously, you want to hit the bare minimum, which I believe was 3. But... if you have 5 people who can, like, glowingly recommend you, then absolutely do that. Your kid better go to Harvard and then in equity? Yeah, yes, that would be great. Private equity. It's 2 science profs, a humanities, 1 extracurricular, and a research. Okay, yeah, it's good. Is Offerdex combining the employed and private practice salaries? There are different ones. So the MGMA data is probably the one that you should be looking at, which is the first column. And the answer there is yes, it does. And for those who don't know what that means, employed, I'm assuming you mean employed by hospitals or clinics or whatever. Employed by some sort of healthcare institution rather than an actual private practice. Do people have a better chance of acceptance with September versus November interview? I don't know, actually. I'm not sure if that has any bearing on it. I would do earlier, just so you kind of know where you stand, and get a decision earlier. Well, probably get a decision earlier. A lot of schools do, like, batch releases for, you know, acceptances, or decisions, I should say. Would I make more than $230 an hour elsewhere? No, we are paid pretty well for the area. You can do locums work for about $350 an hour, though. Here, let's look at locums jobs. So I'd imagine that most specialties have a site like this, but the one for anesthesia is called Gaswork, gaswork.com. And it's, like, just where it's understood that everybody posts their jobs. You can do concierge and make way more? Yes, you can. But, that said, we've hired 2 people since I was hired, and I did not find my job on... it wasn't posted, and the other 2 hires also were not posted, so word of mouth and cold calling people makes a huge difference. So I know you guys probably can't see this, but let's see. There's the Gaswork thing that I'm looking at. Let's see. So here's a locums thing. 1,800 a day, 2,200 per day. 2,200 per day. I don't see any that say hourly, but yeah, 2,200 per day. If you divide it by 8 is what? 270 an hour? Something like that. I've gotten emails for up to 350, as I mentioned. You'll hit me up for career advice in 10 years. Awesome. How can you do better on interviews? Last cycle you had 4, but didn't make it past the wait list. Mock interviews is probably the best way. Mock interviews, come up with good answers for obvious questions, like, tell me about yourself. what are your strengths and weaknesses? Why do you want to go here? Why do you want to do medicine? You know, describe your activities. Like, what do you like to do? What are your hobbies? Have good answers for all of those. Like, write them down, even. I mean, don't, like, script them, because if somebody says, tell me about yourself, and you act like you're reading a script, then that's bad. That's really bad. But yeah, mock interviews, practice, practice, practice. That's the best way to do it. Have I ever written a rec letter? Yes, I've written lots of rec letters. And no, I have never written a bad rec letter, because if I can't write somebody a good one, I tell them no. I turn them down. Because I'm not going to torpedo somebody's career just because I, you know, don't want to write them a rec letter. What's the buy-in period for my private practice? It was 2.5 years for me. You'll hit me up in 25 years after your 10 fellowships. Perfect. I am hopefully going to be on my own personal island in the Bahamas and not working at all. How much do we care about reference letters? A lot. I mean, if somebody says that you're the best person ever and better than everybody else that they've been around, that makes a huge difference. But yeah, again, like most rec letters are like overwhelmingly positive anyway. So unless you have like a bad one or an unbelievably good and specific one, then it's, you know, it's just kind of whatever. We're making love connections in chat tonight. I love it. Fantastic. You're taken by Cockroach Princess. You wrote your own rec letter? A lot of people have you do that. They'll say, hey, yeah, I'll sign your rec letter. And dude, if somebody offers for you to write your own letter, 100% do it and make it absolutely amazing. Obviously, you can only do that once, but that is a great opportunity to have. Yeah, it's very rare, as a Plasma Steak mentioned. It's very rare to have a notable rec letter, but there are some. You know, like if you have a big name in medicine write you an extremely glowing letter, then that's gonna turn some heads. That'll make a difference. What would I write in my rec letter if I had that chance? Well, like I said, it'd basically just be lots of specifics. I would just talk about how, like, I compare with other people, and, like, I'm very dedicated and extremely good work ethic, great team member, and, like, you have to provide examples for all that sort of thing. Feel comforted that you just need a high MCAT score for your low GPA. That's all I needed. It was a rough ride, but damn. Difficulty starting a private practice out of med school? Pretty hard. Just kind of like any business, really. Yeah, I don't know that you would, want to do that. Oh, out of medical school? I assume you mean out of residency, but... Yeah, joining an existing private practice to, like, get some connections and sort of, learn the ropes is a much better idea than trying to start solo immediately afterwards, because you're gonna have a huge learning curve trying to learn medicine and learn business at the same time. That's not gonna be fun. You said you're in the top 1% of your students your professor ever taught. That's fantastic. But yeah, I would not recommend starting a business immediately after residency. So I own a business. It's very loosely medically related. It's like a Botox and, you know, IV business, like recreational IVs, hangover cure, stuff like that. And that was a huge learning curve. Would it be better to get someone you know that has a fancy title versus a guy who knows you really well? I would prefer the stellar letter, I think, because if the fancy pants writes you a mediocre letter, that's gonna look way worse. right? Because people will know that person, and then they'll be like, they didn't really recommend you. That's a bad idea. Even if the latter's a nobody, yeah, absolutely. I mean, presumably that person's still like a doctor, right? Oh, shoot. He advertised a rec letter from the director as a perk? Yeah, that might not be ideal. Where the rec letter writer had a tenuous connection to the applicant but was very well known. Yeah, I've seen that. I would basically, I mean, if it's a useless rec letter, it's a useless rec letter, right? So I would basically just disregard it. Can you be my Jonathan? If you go to AA school, absolutely, or CRNA school. In 4 short years, you too can program data for me. How feasible is it to start your own practice after working for one before? Very. I mean, it's going to be a lot of work because you're starting your own business and you've got to get all the like ridiculous licensing and stuff taken care of. But yeah, you can totally do that. Ooh. Yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of going that route. You know, they're sort of like splitting off with people that they know and doing either some sort of like subscription-based like concierge medicine, or, you know, otherwise just sort of getting out of this ridiculous like insurance reimbursement loop that a lot of people are stuck in, because like Medicaid and Medicare are just continuously slashing reimbursement and, you know, squeezing doctors to work more. It sucks. Med school, look at your tax returns to make sure you didn't lie about having a job. For financial aid, yeah, they absolutely will. Yep, and the government definitely will. Can I quickly run through all the Discord chats I'm in? I'm only in one. I'm in the MCAT server. The Reddit's MCAT server. In general, without financial aid? No, without financial aid, they won't bother. But if you're trying to get money from them, then yes, they will own your soul. How important is clinical shadowing? You're, in my opinion, not screwed in terms of application status, but I mean, it's a very unwise thing for you to apply to med school without having shadowed a doctor, so you have like an idea of what's going to go on. But yeah, definitely go shadow. I wouldn't put a lot of time into it, to be honest. Like maybe 3 or 4 rounds and you'll get a pretty good idea of like what's going on. Is psych as competitive as derm? Oh god, no way. Yeah, derm is like maybe the most competitive specialty, or at least one of them. It's up there with like plastics and neurosurgery and ortho. Ortho's kind of climbing into that categorization too. Oh my god, chat is killing me. Chat is absolutely killing me. Roasted my balls. Okay. I hate all of you. But yeah, psych apparently is getting more competitive, but it used to be bottom of the barrel. It was like psych and peds were by far the least competitive specialties. And I think psych is now maybe like the 4th least competitive specialty. It's not, like, certainly not super popular. But if you don't have much clinical experience, but have had a lot of experience being hospitalized, well, that's an ideal. Yeah, I mean, I would still get a perspective from the provider. It's totally different. The provider's mindset. Totally different than being a patient. Would I recommend locums to make the most money possible? If you can handle that. If you don't mind, you know, going place to place and not always, like, you know, being in the same city. Like, you'll travel and stuff, and you'll probably be in a lot of rural locations. But if you can do that and maintain, like, full-time employment, you can make an unbelievable shitload of money being locums. For sure. rec letters from politicians? I think that's fine. Yeah, I mean, I can understand why you'd want to be careful with, you know, casting aspersions on one political party or the other. But yeah, I mean, if it's somebody that you did a lot of work with, and if you've interned for Craig Abbott, oh god. Yeah, maybe if you were Clarence Thomas's intern, you don't really want to do that these days. But yeah, I mean, I think if that person can write you a really good letter, then go for it. How feasible is it to get a residency in Cali if you go to a med school that's out of Cali? I mean, that's fine. Like, pretty likely. Just as likely as it would be otherwise. What are dangerous cities? Whatever city I'm in. Would you count working as an ER tech? But stepping into a service procedure under shadowing? I mean, you can if you want. That sounds like a bit of a stretch, but like, again, shadowing is kind of like volunteering. It's like, nah. I don't think anybody's putting much stock in how much you shadow or volunteer. There's a chance for you in psych if you do get into med school? Absolutely. Here, let's look at some numbers on that. Charting outcomes. There it is. Nope. That's the wrong one. That's the right one. Is it? Is this the right one? No, it's not. Okay, here we go. There we go. Let's see. Let's look at what psych did in the last match. Psychiatry. Where you at, psychiatry? What is this even? Oh my goodness. Well, let's see. Psychiatry had a very good match rate. To say the least. Where were those links that Gucci provided? There they are. So psych. And lower than I thought, honestly. 92%. And then we'll scroll down. This is for DO students. Let's do MD. This is path. Scroll down to psych. So you have to keep in mind that match percentages are not, they don't tell the whole story, right? Because, like, there's a lot of self-selection for the more competitive specialties. So, like, the applicant pool in general is probably better for plastic surgery, say, than psychiatry. Plastic surgery, speaking of which, let's see. Plastics. Where are you, psychiatry? There it is. So the mean step 1 score for people who matched is 228. Which I don't know what that is anymore. That was maybe a little above average when I took it. So it looks like most people who matched had like anywhere between like a 211 and a 240. Or 250 even. The bell curve's like right at 230. So yeah, medium competitive. Not bad. I would say. Thoughts on auth though? It's an awesome profession. Very competitive. Very, very competitive, very research-based, very academic. But if you break into private practice, you will make an unbelievable amount of money. How hard is it to get 80 hours weekly employment in locums? Probably pretty hard, honestly. Most locums jobs are gonna do like, either you're gonna be 7 to 3, or like whatever clinic hours. You know, you might be able to find a place that needs you for like a week. Like if you're doing hospitalist work, you might just have like an entire week where you're on call. So yeah, that is doable for sure. Or if you're like a trauma surgeon and you're just gonna like cover an entire week, that might be 80 hours of coverage. And yes, you can totally do it straight out of residency. So part of the you need to find you a good plastic surgeon. Well, go into plastics and you'll have one. You'll have one in your own house. But yeah, you can do locums right out of residency, but generally locums have a reputation of being like less good, like kind of weak practitioners. And they also get shit on. Like a lot of places will just give you all the terrible work. Just because they know you're not going to be there in, you know, a day or a month or whatever. Is it bad to have a 4.0 and then 3.9? So bad. Hey, Kimmy, you're welcome. Thanks for the kind words. I appreciate you coming out. I hope you got something out of it. Cool. I think I'm caught up. So, Cockroach Princess, what are you going to get cut on? What surgery are you having? Inquiring minds need to know. Oh my goodness, that's intense. That's a lot of me talking. Gonna get cut making tomato sauce? Yeah, most likely. Do I have any recs for how many schools to apply to? As many as you can afford. Apply everywhere. There's no it's way easier to turn down interviews than it is to generate more if you don't have enough. Or acceptances, for that matter. Yeah, apply frickin' everywhere. It does sound expensive, and it is. That's, I think it's real crappy that med school is so expensive to apply to. Like, these are all college students, man. Nobody has $4,000 to drop on application fees. Why'd I eat a 20-piece McNugget? Why didn't you? Yeah, that's a great question. You'll try for gas? Do it. Do it. It's a good gig, man. Gas is anesthesia. Or just uncomfortable. $5 a 20 piece? Oh my god. That's so bad. Locum sounds good, but worries hours will be capped. Yeah, that's a serious consideration, for sure. Yeah, I think it's a much better gig to just have constant work. It's certainly less stressful. Like that's my choice. But if you're in a position like me and you have 10 weeks of vacation, then you've got some extra time that you can fill in. Is there a good site that lets you look at med schools via filter? Oh, I don't know. Not that I'm aware of. Yeah, unfortunately, I think you might have to, like, the cost of living, I would strongly doubt would be integrated into something like that. You probably just have to Google that and look at a chart of cost of living, like, locally. But yeah, that would be really useful if there was that site. I mean, if anybody knows different, link it, by all means. Someone tell you the formula for how much med school applications will cost? I think most places list their application fees. So you might just have to look individually. Maybe somebody's compiled that somewhere. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I would count on whatever AMCAS charges these days. I think it was $30 an application when I did it, so it's probably more now. And then each secondary I would count on 80 to 100 per school. Chat's killing me. You guys are amazing. Thoughts on anabolic steroids while in med school? Well, how else are you gonna get that bench plus weight to 500, man? You gotta do what you gotta do. Any way to compensate for GPA lower than average besides the MCAT? Not really. I mean, like, a good interview, for sure, but you have to get that far. That's the problem. Like, that's the problem with having, like, an unbalanced, you know, score application, is you can get screened out really easily. But yeah, do the best you can for your GPA. And, you know, make sure you, like, nail your essays and stuff like that. And interview if you need it. Bench plus step score is 500? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Got it. Perfect. If you want my future, forget my past. Nice. But I think it's too late to add schools to your application list? September? Nah. You can add schools if you want to. I wouldn't wait too much longer, though. Like, if you're gonna do it now. Just send Milkman your progress pics. Oh, I will totally put them up on stream. 100%. It's gonna be my background from now on. You'll send perfect. How feasible was it to have downtime as a med student? Oh, very, very feasible. Not hard to carve out time for friends and family. I went to the gym most days. That said, I studied from home. I didn't go to class for, like, after about the first semester of my first year, because it just worked way better. All of our lectures were posted online, so I studied on my own. I'd study at home for about 4 to 6 hours a day, and more during test weeks, but yeah, 4 to 6 hours a day, pretty much had as much time as I needed, you know, with some exceptions. But third year, that changes a little bit when you're on clinics or clinicals, and your time isn't really your own anymore. Some rotations will be worse than others, like surgery is really bad for hours, work hours. Recommended GPA, you should aim to be competitive. I mean, as high as possible, obviously. I think the average is, what, like 3.7 or something? So you at least want to hit there, if you can. I mean, that's clearly a do as I say, not as I do thing. Till that nerd pre-med, I party 3 times a week in gym times 5. Nice. Nice ortho, bro. Do it. Yeah, I'd take the 40512 too. And film the labor. Nice. If my wife goes into labor on streaming day, can I take you to the hospital? No. Absolutely not. How did I break up study blocks? It usually would do like practice questions. So I do UWorld and do like what's the max? 48. So I do like a block of practice questions and then take like a 15-minute break or something, and then do it again, and maybe like eat lunch, do another block, or I'd go through lectures, just depending on how much time those took. Usually I could get through like an hour lecture in about 15 minutes. On my own, that is. Is AdCom the screening organization? No, not always. I mean, sometimes it's all just electronic. They just like see numbers and they shoot you out. What did I do for practice questions? UWorld. It was amazing. And I had some review sources and stuff too. But how do you get a GPA that low? Just go to an easy school and pick easy major? I mean, honestly, like, that is kind of the no shit Sherlock approach to med school application. Clearly way smarter than you. No. No, not at all. But I do work smarter, not harder. Did I use Read World for preclinicals? Yeah, absolutely. Wouldn't scoring well on standardized tests look better since every university has different types of deflation and grading? Well, yeah, but I mean, you want, like, it's way better to have the number and, you know, somebody's like, well, I don't know, maybe this is, like, grade inflation, but I don't know, than to just get, like, either outright screened out or have people, you know, want you to explain your grades. Can I share review sources? Yeah, USMLE World. That's all I used. I also used Pathology Review by Edward Golion. I think there's a new Path book that's, like, supposedly more useful than that, a little more concise. What else did I use? First Aid is actually nice. It's, like, really superficial, but it's kind of like hitting the high points, and it's easy to just kind of go through and be like, oh yeah, Pathoma. Yeah, Pathoma's it. Yep. Yep, Pathoma's the one. Should you discuss mental health stuff? No. Nope. Not unless there's, like, some, you know, deficiency in your application that you're asked about. Like, I would steer clear of that personally. UWorld not saved until dedicated? Nah. Nah, man. Just use it all the way through. Are there any stigmatized issues you should stay away from in your essays? Yeah, anything illegal, obviously. I would... anything that's, like, hotly contentious, you know, any sort of, like, polarizing voting issue, like gay marriage or abortion rights or things like that, I would not talk about. Just, there's no reason to go into that and, like, risk alienating your application evaluators, you know, the admission committees. Yeah, use UWorld all the way through, dude. Because it's all about teaching, too. It's not necessarily just, like, you know, doing... like, evaluating yourself for how you're going to do on the test. It's learning the concepts to begin with. What if you had someone in your family die? Can you talk about grief? Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if that, like, influenced you somehow. Yeah, UWorld's broken down by both systems and by subject. So you can sort it either way. If you put all the specialties in a hedge maze, which one would get out fastest? Ortho, because they just, like, drill right through the maze. That's easy. Just hack right through that shit, man. Oh, I gotta vote. What's the second best Q bank? How often do I do these AMAs? I haven't done one for a while. Usually it's every couple months. Like, whenever something kind of, like, important happens in some medical education cycle, whether it's, you know, like, interview season or applications start, like, you know, people are doing their match lists or something for residency or something like that. And boss is a good question bank? Yeah. TrueLearn is what I use for anesthesia. I don't know if that's available for med school or not. I think that's all, like, graduate level stuff. Let's find out, actually. TrueLearn. Let's see. Explore our products. Here we go. Oh, they do. So they have step 1. No way. I would do this. TrueLearn was awesome. That was really, really useful. Like, same quality as UWorld, I would say. Equivalent. USMLE-RX, I believe I tried USMLE-RX, and it was not good. I was not impressed. It may have changed, but I do not know. But TrueLearn, like I said, TrueLearn was awesome. UWorld was awesome. I think 2 question banks is more than enough. What's a necessity to bring to med school for your first year? Good question. So honestly, most of the things that they want you to bring, you should not. So a lot of med schools will have you like buy an ophthalmoscope and like an expensive stethoscope and a blood pressure cuff. Don't buy any of that shit. Don't buy it. You will never use it. Anytime that you need an ophthalmoscope or an otoscope, it's in the room. It's in the clinic. UWorld goes, just GOAT, Namboss is best, second best? Yeah. Cool. Yeah, go for it, man. But yeah, like I said, I was very impressed with TrueLearn as well. I don't know if you have any experience with that or not, but... Yeah, so necessity to bring your first year. I'd say a comfy bed. Honestly, make sure your sleep is good. Don't mess with sleep, dude. Yeah, make sure you get a really nice bed. I know that sounds weird, but... yeah, I mean, mental health is just kind of, like, touchy. And you sort of, like, you know, open chinks in the armor if you're exposing yourself as, like, having mental health issues. I mean, I know it shouldn't be that way, but it is. Because, like, the obvious follow-up question is like, well, hey, you know, if you had these mental health issues under this circumstance, like, what makes you think that you can handle med school, right? So, I would say don't invite that, challenge. It's good for the DO boards. Okay, cool. Do I concur with what? What am I concurring with? Try UWorld. Practice for in-house med school. You should do. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, do UWorld for just learning everything. Yeah, 100%. How much do adcoms care about science GPA versus cumulative? If you have to pick one to be higher, I would pick the science, because traditionally science courses are just harder in general. I mean, I don't think it really makes that much of a difference, to be honest with you. If you had someone die by suicide in the family, which resulted in financial problems, so you weren't able to do anything for 2 or 3 years, would that be a good idea to mention it? If for whatever reason that affects your application, then sure. Or your drive to be a doctor. Otherwise, like, I would probably just not do that unless they specifically ask you for, like, describe any gaps in, you know, your education or your clinical experience or anything like that. Like, if you're specifically asked about it, then sure. But unless that affected, you know, your career choice, I would not talk about it. And you're welcome, Panic. You're welcome very much. I'm enjoying myself. Should you stay away from eating disorders? If that's where your interest in medicine started? No. No, if you had an eating disorder, like, if you did anything and it informed your desire to be a doctor, then yeah, talk about it. Have I ever had any cavities, fillings, or teeth extracted? What the fuck? I actually had my first filling, like, 2 months ago? 2 or 3 months ago. It was weird. I felt really ashamed, to be honest. My grandpa was a dentist and, like, always pushed really good, like, mouth hygiene, you know? I felt really bad. I felt really bad that I had a cavity. Fortunately, it didn't hurt. I think talking about it would be a red flag. No, I don't. Not at all. I don't think it's a red flag. It's just you're like delving into some issues that might invite difficult questions, and you know, you don't want to make this process harder on yourself than it already is. How often? I brush my teeth twice a day and usually floss every other day. I would say I'm bad about that. You and your questions, dude. You come up with some weird shit. This is awesome. What is this? I love it. Yeah, totally relevant, pertinent questions. Yes, absolutely. Well, like I said earlier, like, you know, if you, for instance, with the suicide thing, like, you know, if something catastrophic happened in your life again, would you need to take a leave of absence from med school or from medical education? Why? You know, how did this affect you? Like, you just kind of open up this rabbit hole, or potential rabbit hole, that, you know, isn't like a bad thing, but it might make your interview a little more uncomfortable and a little more tenuous. I just wouldn't do it. But again, if it influenced your career path in any way, then, you know, come up with a story that spins it as such, and you should be fine. Like, it's not a red flag. It's, like I said, you're just kind of treading some difficult waters, potentially, in my opinion. Does that mean a 3.4 and a 3.59 is viewed as the same? No, clearly not. And screening is different based on school. It's all school to school. And I'm not sure why they have such big bins. Like, why did they bin those GPAs so widely? It's kind of weird. But yeah, screening is all school dependent. And it might not even be like a certain number. They might, you know, multiply your GPA by your MCAT score or something, and, you know, take a cutoff below a certain number. I don't know. There's, you know, it's all just totally random and arbitrary. If you help care for chronically ill older family members during undergrad and it had effect on your academics, how do you phrase that in the written part of your app? I mean, most places have an opportunity to, like, describe shortfalls in your academic record. So I would do that. Just play it up. Can't think of any way you could explain doing nothing for 2 to 3 years. Why do you have to do that? You don't necessarily have to account for everything. Like I said, if you are asked directly about that time span, then say, hey, a family member committed suicide, and, like, that was super traumatic for me, and I did these things, and now I'm better. Presumably. I'm assuming you're better. But yeah, I mean, that's, like, you can totally work with that. Nobody's gonna, like, question why you were you know, down and out for 2 years when somebody committed suicide. It's just like I said, you just, if you can avoid talking about these things, it's a good plan. You know, you can spin this like, hey, you know, I was aggressive about my mental health. I went and got counseling. I did these things. I took up these hobbies. Like, you know, this is how I coped. I just needed some time to, like, you know, readjust my life and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, there are ways to make this look good, but unless you just want to talk about it, like I said, I would just kind of move on. For the shortfalls in your academic record, are there any red flags for what to say or not to say? It depends on what the shortfalls are, right? Like, you could be the opposite of what I just described, right? And be like, well, I languished for 3 years and literally did nothing and fell into this depressive funk and sought no help and accepted no help and, like, had these destructive behaviors. And by the way, I still do all of these destructive behaviors, but you know, like, you don't want to go there. Like, you have to show, basically you want to demonstrate some sort of growth from the event or thing. Yeah, take accountability, exactly. So about the red tomato sauce, what about it? Are you talking about, like, Italian sauce? Like, what kind of sauce, man? What kind of sauce, bro? And Google exists, by the way. You crush up your tomatoes, add some olive oil. I am a heavy oregano fan. Google is not Milk Van Al, so true. I'm a heavy oregano, heavy garlic fan. So fresh. There's no excuse to not use fresh if you're making your own sauce, right? So fresh garlic, fresh herbs. And just simmer it. Simmer it low and slow, man. One mistake people make is adding the meat too early, dude. Don't add your meats too early. Like, maybe half hour before it's done, because otherwise it just sort of homogenizes and you have this weird, like, meat textured but like lightly flavored sausage slash meatball in there. You want it to give a little bit of flavor. No onion. Oh yeah, absolutely onion. And yes, saute the garlic. Saute the garlic and onion. Get your herbs in there. A little bit of rosemary. Like I said, heavy oregano, heavy basil too. Heavy basil. Don't forget the basil. Little bit of time. I got you. Yeah, Big Bong's on it. Yeah, low and slow, man. Just simmer it. Let it go. Let's see. Depression during academic year. Is it okay to mention that you went to counseling and don't suffer from it? Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, again, I mean, like, you can certainly spin that into, like, you know, I understand how people feel and can, you know, want to help them with this. Dark chocolate? No, that's freaking gross. Don't do that. Tomatoes are plenty bitter. They're bitter enough. Actually, you wanna add either like a little bit of brown sugar, just like a pinch of brown sugar to cut the acid. If you're part of a club back in university, but everyone you knew graduated, should you include it as a reference if you can't find a verifier? Yeah. Why not? Yeah, nobody's gonna check on your chess club. Yeah, absolutely. If you spent time in a chess club or whatever club, do it. What's my best pitch for subscribing to my YouTube channel? Well, I don't really give a shit if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, to be honest. If you find it useful, then subscribe. That's my pitch. Go check it out. If you think it's useful, sub. If you don't, sorry. Tell me what I can do better to make it useful. Oh, you're welcome, Skylar. You can include clubs without a verifier? I don't know what a verifier is. Assuming you mean like some sort of reference, but what's the name of my YouTube channel? I'll get it to you. I'll just link it. This is an awesome set, by the way. Above and Beyond's acoustic set in Portchester Hall. Really, really good. Alright. That's my YouTube. It's like a contact to the AdCom can call. Oh yeah, nobody's gonna call your clubs, dude. I would not worry about that. If what a pitch, I'm gonna go sub right now. You totally should. Absolutely, dance music stand. I'm still live streaming. I'm here. I'm doing it, man. Stellaris? Yeah, I've played Stellaris before. It's really good. You can BS all of your extracurriculars? No, I didn't say that. I mean, like, realistically, nobody's gonna check them. But... yeah, I mean, like, don't... So the more stock you place in something, the more likely it is to get followed up on. So if you say, like, I was the best chess player in the United States and I won all of these tournaments and, you know, spent 9,000 hours in my chess club, like, then maybe that'll get followed up on. But if you're like, yeah, you know, I was in a chess club, it was cool, and I did all these things, I met these people, you know, did this stuff, it was fun, it helped me de-stress, great. Move on. You know, no big deal. Being the first gen make you an underrepresented minority. I mean, I think minority status is basically purely identified by race, right? I could be wrong about that, but I think it's all like ethnicity based. Is anesthesia in danger from mid-level creep? Oh, I can't believe we made it so long without that question. No, I do not feel like it's under fire from that. I feel like my view might be a little stilted, though, because I am in a fairly rural state, and any CRNAs who want to go practice solo can do so very easily, with a, you know, half-hour drive outside of the city. Will you be able to future-proof your employment without getting eaten in the job market? Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna be fine. Main motivator, it's one of the least competitive specialties. It's not anymore. It used to be kind of middle of the road competitive, and now it's like probably top third. Yeah. But that's overall. You know, keep in mind that if you're willing to go like somewhere undesirable, like in the Midwest or something, you're probably still fine. How do the CRNAs not kill all their patients? Wait, they do? Oh, damn, burn. Oh, goodness. That's fantastic. If only you knew. If only you knew. What are the most undesirable med schools? I don't think there really is one, honestly. Possible to get in them. You got a high GPA and MCAT? You can put extracurriculars without verifiers in? I would imagine so. Practice anywhere, high paying. Yeah, so Texas is actually a really great place to practice medicine. They're super malpractice friendly, and the salaries there are like the highest in the country for like across the board, basically. But yeah, Midwest in general is very high paying for medicine. Like one of my best friends from med school actually joined my practice last year, or about a year and a half ago now, actually. And he was in DC, and his salary, like not real income, his actual, like, the number that he brings home is like almost 50% higher here than it was in DC. Undesirable med schools, Caribbean, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, US and Canada undesirable med schools doesn't exist. That said, I do hear really bad things about LSU Shreveport. There's some pretty bad stuff going on there. Do I do 100% O2 for my cases or no? Nah. I do not. I usually do like half and half. Half air, half O2. So what's that? Probably 60%? What determines how soon you're interviewed? That I don't know. I mean, obviously application time has something to do with it. So like where you are in the stack. But I don't know. I'm not sure how schools determine that, especially ones with like rolling interviews. I'm not sure how they determine who to interview when. Like, I don't know if they pick a batch of, like, the most qualified people and interview them and, like, push everybody back, or if they just do it, like, on a first come, first serve. And it's probably school dependent, too. Some unique extracurriculars that stand out. Well, let's see. Of people I've interviewed, I interviewed a college football player who was a gigantic human being. A guy who had been a professional rock climber. He was like a rock climbing, like, guide or something. Like, you know, helped people, like, scale cliffs and stuff. What else? A chef. New guy who was a chef. Like, anything that's kind of, like, unscience-y is gonna make you stand out for sure. How do you get into Midwest school specifically? There are not a lot of state-friendly ones. Out-of-state-friendly ones. SLU, St. Louis University would be a good option. Missouri, Kansas City, I think, is relatively out-of-state friendly. Where else? Mayo, but they're pretty selective. I don't know, man. I can't think of a lot off the top of my head. What's the bed med schools for out-of-state or international? I don't know what you mean. Best for out-of-state or international. So I definitely would not go to the Caribbean. I don't know a lot about it, honestly. I hear that actually, like, schools in, like, the UK are pretty good. And, like, Ireland. But, I mean, you still face the same adversity that Caribbean grads will. You know, your match rates are going to be terrible. And you're probably stuck with primary care, most likely. But in Caribbean, you can do med school on the beach, yes. Oh, the best schools in the USA for international students? I mean, it's all the same, right? Like, your what's a good way to say it? Like, your proportional chances of being admitted as an international graduate versus an out-of-state graduate are, like, roughly equivalent. As I understand it, exactly. I'll move out of the East Coast as soon as you finish your research year. Yeah. Yeah, the East Coast pays terribly. Like, I can't remember if this is separated by region. Did I get out of the offer DX? Or offer DX thing? Yeah, I think I did. Load, bitch. There we go. Yeah, it's not. I have the, like, regional MGMA data somewhere, but yeah, the East Coast pays terribly because everybody wants to live there. Should you be concerned if a medical school or residency is in all bad neighborhood is in a bad neighborhood? Here's a hint: they are all in bad neighborhoods because that's where the most business is. That's where the traumas are. That's where the unhealthy people are. Yeah, so I wouldn't worry about that. Random chatter for the collab AMA. Yeah. No. Western Mich doesn't have a strong in-state preference. Oh, cool. Good to know. Oh, shit. I'm sorry to disappoint. Doing research or volunteering at a med school increases your chances of getting an interview? Probably not. I doubt, like, unless that research or volunteering got you, like, hooked up with somebody on the admissions committee, then no. I don't think it's gonna make any difference. If you took a gap year, what should you emphasize if you weren't in school or work? What you mean in terms of, like, what do I think would help you get into med school? I mean, normally I would say work. I would say get a clinical job. But if you're excluding work, I mean research, I guess, like try to work for a lab or something. But otherwise, just like take it easy, get some like cool life experiences, travel, you know, do something neat that you can talk about. I mean, in the absence of anything like sort of academic that's gonna inform your decision to go to med school. Can you send your CV to Sway Me? Sure. Go for it. More people getting stabbed means more chances to practice. Yes. Yes, it does. Yeah, I mean, again, just like, you know, talk about your time like you're a person. You don't have to come up with some like crazy story or whatever that's like, you know, gonna win hearts and change minds. Just be like, just talk about what you did. Does reading count as an extracurricular? I don't think so. Programming and stuff? Yeah, that's cool, right? Not many people in med school are gonna be programming on any sort of like reasonable level. Darn. I mean, if you read a lot of books and you have something interesting to say about them, like, why not? Aw, you are welcome, Dr. Big Boy. I thought this would be a useful thing to do, you know, like, which is kind of why I started streaming in the first place. Does YouTube count? Yeah. That's kind of a cool, like, unique thing that not a whole lot of people do. Or are willing to admit that they do. About other cultures and academic commentary on culture. Yeah, I mean, I think that's really interesting. Right? That's a cool thing to talk about. I thought you just meant, like, reading random books or something. Which even then, you could probably talk about. You're just like, man, I read a shitload last year. Are you guys subscribing to my YouTube? You totally should. Wow, you are. I was joking, but okay. Thank you. Thank you for your patronage. I hope you enjoy it. If you have suggestions for what to improve or what I should talk about, please let me know. I do plan on... life has kind of come at me fast and furious recently. I'm having another kid in December, and we are renovating a bunch of my bathrooms, so YouTube production time has sort of suffered. Do I have any regrets about being a doctor? I wouldn't say I have regrets, but I probably wouldn't do it again, to be honest. It's just a huge opportunity cost. Like, I've got an awesome job that I really like. But man, that like 8 years of training and the debt is brutal. All right, guys, I'll field a couple more, and I'm gonna go to bed. I didn't realize it was 11 o'clock. I've just been rolling. I gotta get up and take my kid to school. If I had a successful YouTube channel, like 1 million subs, would I choose to be a doctor? Hell no. No chance, man. No way. Do you know how much money those guys make? Like 1 million sub channel, you would be making like... Well, here, let's look. So here's a guy that I run across frequently who you may know about. Asmongold. He has about 1 million subs, I think. Yeah. He makes like the amounts of money that streamers made got leaked like probably about a year ago now. And he makes $2.5 million a year just from streaming. And the amount of money that you make from each view, you make about $3 to $5 per 1,000 views. So he made $3,000 there. He made $5,000 there. Like, I mean, damn. He makes so much more money than I do. And has a much more fun and low-stress job. I mean, if they still, like, the people at that level put in a crap load of work, honestly. Like, digital media career is terrible. Like, they put in a lot of hours. But at this point, he's got a whole staff that does, like, all his editing and stuff. And he just kind of, like, makes content, and he's good to go. Aspen Gold has it figured out 100%. He knows what's up. So yeah, if I had a YouTube channel that was that big, there's no way I'd be doing what I'm doing. Yeah, he does have multiple channels. So, I mean, he's just making an unbelievable amount of money. You do have to be really good with marketing. You also have to catch breaks, right? You got to get caught, like, picked up by the algorithm. But once you're there, if you seize it, you are set, man. Like, once the algorithm likes you and you stay on it, you are good to go. All right, y'all. Thank you very much for coming out. I really appreciate it. I hope that was interesting to you. Again, I'm live Wednesdays and Sundays, 8 p.m. Central. So if you think of anything that you need, come and see me. You can also DM me anytime. I'm more than happy to help out. So thanks again, and I will see you soon. Give me any feedback you may have. Any ways to improve or anything that I missed or screwed up, I'm happy to address in future sessions. So take it easy, everybody. Where to send feedback? You can DM me. Live where? Live on Twitch and YouTube. I'll link my Twitch again for you guys. It's in my profile. It's in my Discord profile, but there's that, and my YouTube is up above somewhere. There it is. Oh, and I also, by the way, I have my own Discord as well. Forgot about that. That's kind of important, huh? Here, I'll link it to my Discord. This is probably the easiest way to do it. Yeah, so if you want to, like, discuss this further, like, you know, I know, I'm not trying to, like, pilfer from the MCAT server, but we're a little bit more advanced. Like, there's more professional talk and stuff like we were doing tonight. Than I believe there is in the MCAT server, or at least from what I've seen. So come and join. No. Copy link address. There we go. Oh my god, somebody's spamming the shit out of me. What the fuck? What is going on? Somebody really wants to buy my lion sword. But yeah, that's my community's Discord. When could you start dating? Like in med school? Anytime, man. Yeah, you can start dating anytime. Why not? You don't see the Discord link? Oh shit, sorry. There you go. Oh, I think it they must it must just get auto deleted. Yeah, it's blocked. It's here. Let's see. What can I do to do that? Let's see. It's discord.gg with that. Discord.gg/this nonsense. I guess I should have mentioned that before. There were only 5 people listening. Do I have healthcare power of attorney for anyone outside my immediate family? No, I do not. All right, everybody, I'm out. Thank you again. Take it easy. Hopefully, I will see some of you very soon. Cheers. What? What do you want? No, I'm leaving. Have a good night, guys. I'll see you Sunday.